The lantern swung wildly in Eleanor Hay's grip as she paused at her bedroom door, the old oak creaking against the howling gale outside. On the other side stood Benjamin Carter, his Stetson clutched in calloused hands, rain dripping from his sandy blonde hair. Those hazel eyes held secrets that could shatter her world. For years she'd worn the somber gray of widowhood, for years of quiet devotion and small-town scrutiny in Silver Creek, Montana. But tonight, with the storm raging like a furious beast, devotion seemed as fragile as the glass in her windows. Ben's voice cut through the wood, gravelly as the mountain trails. "Eleanor, I can bunk in the shed, just say so." She leaned her forehead against the door, sensing his warmth seeping through. The whole town would buzz by dawn. Deputy Harlan would have his ammunition, the Baptist women's group their fresh gossip, and she'd have this stolen moment to cling to when isolation crept back in. Her fingers hovered over the bolt. One turn, and 2 decades of flawless respectability would vanish like mist in the morning sun. 2 months prior, Silver Creek sprawled like any dusty frontier outpost, etched from Montana rock and hardy ambitions. Eleanor managed her cozy diner on Main Street, flipping burgers and tallying receipts with the accuracy of someone who'd learned that ledgers don't betray or abandon you in the night. The bell jingled, and she glanced up to see him. 6 feet of rugged promise in a faded denim jacket, boots thumping across her checkered floor. Benjamin Carter moved with the easy grace of a river carving stone, his wide frame blocking the afternoon light. "Ma'am," he tipped his hat, and Eleanor felt a stir she hadn't known in years, a quickening deep in her core, like butterflies awakening from hibernation. "Heard you're the one to ask about ranches for sale around here," he said, his voice carrying the lilt of the southern plains. She studied his hands, sturdy, scarred from work, yet gentle enough to handle fragile things. "The Harlan spreads got sections available," she replied, her tone steadier than her pulse. 80 acres solid grazing land. When their gazes locked, Eleanor spotted something rare. Not the predatory glint of local cowboys eyeing easy prey, but a quiet acknowledgement, as if he saw beyond her pinned-up hair an apron to the woman buried under grief's heavy cloak. That Sunday, he slipped into the rear pew at First Baptist Church, hat off, head lowered during Pastor Wilkins' sermon on virtue and the straight road. But as the choir lifted voices in "How Great Thou Art," Eleanor sensed a stare like sunlight on her skin, nearly tripping over the lyrics she'd belted 1,000 times. "How great thou art!" The irony burned, and staring right at her from across the aisle. After the service, as she straightened hymnals, his boots echoed deliberately. "Mrs. Hayes," his tone wrapped her name in respect that felt like a warm blanket, not pity. "That was some fine singing." "Thank you, Mr. Carter." "Benjamin Carter." He fidgeted with his hat. "I know it's forward, but where's a fellow get a proper Sunday supper? The motel grubs like eating boot leather." Eleanor surprised herself with a chuckle. "Mrs. Landry tries, but she could scorch soup. I always make extra for just me." And so it began, the tentative waltz of 2 souls edging toward trust in her modest kitchen. Ben shared tales of his grandma's peach cobbler and the Bible college he'd ditched for ranch life. She opened up about her late husband, a decent provider, but silent as stone in the echoing quiet that made her talk to shadows. "Loneliness sneaks up on you," Ben mused, drying dishes with sleeves rolled up, exposing forearms corded from labor. "Makes you forget you're breathing." Their fingers brushed over a plate, lingering 4 beats too long, reminding Eleanor her heart still beat. September winds carried whispers through Silver Creek. Eleanor felt them in the hushed chatter at the feed store, the sidelong glances during services, and Deputy Harlan's uninvited stops at her diner. Getting chummy with that wanderer. Harlan leaned on her counter, badge gleaming, his breath too close. "Guy's got no stake here, no family." Makes you question his game. Eleanor's jaw tightened. She'd fended off types like Harlan since her teens. Mr. Carter's a patron deputy. That's it. But the words tasted false. Ben was becoming everything evident in her switch to floral dresses from gray, and the loose curls framing her face like invitations to the light. The day it all shifted started with thunder. Eleanor was at the cemetery, tending her husband's plot out of habit more than heartache, when the downpour hit like vengeance. She dashed to an old tool shed nearby, soaked and shivering. Then Ben appeared from the rain, shirt clinging to his muscled chest, hair plastered. Wordlessly, he draped his jacket over her, his body heat lingering in the fabric. In that cramped space, rain pounding like drums, neither spoke. Eleanor inhaled his scent leather, pine, and raw masculinity that set her nerves alight. When she met his eyes, the unspoken question weakened her knees. Eleanor. Her name was a plea on his lips. I should leave. Should you? The words tumbled out. His hand cupped her cheek, tender as handling porcelain. You're the prettiest sight I've laid eyes on. I'm 45, she murmured but stayed put. And I'm 31, and utterly wrecked every time I see you. The kiss was soft at first, then fervent, erasing 4 years of solitude. Eleanor's fingers clutched his shirt, tasting desperation. When they parted, tears streaked her face. This is crazy. Then call me insane, he whispered, forehead to hers. Because I'm falling hard for you, Eleanor Hayes, and I don't care what this podunk town says. But Silver Creek cared plenty. Within days, the Baptist Women's Circle convened in outrage. Diner traffic had halved. The kids she'd slipped free sodas to now scampered away. The tension simmered until Deputy Harlan ambushed Ben outside the saloon, backed by his drinking buddies, whiskey fueling their bravado. Time to hit the trail, Carter, Harlan sneered, hand on his holster. We don't need outsiders chasing skirts around widows. Ben's reply was low, lethal. At least land here legit. As for Mrs. Hayes, she's her own boss, not yours. The standoff crackled for 12 seconds before Ben walked off, but Eleanor, peering from her diner window, saw the rage in his stiff posture, the threat of fists brewing. That night, she chose her fate as sealed it. The gale slammed Silver Creek like divine wrath, turning streets to rivers. Eleanor was stoking her stove when frantic knocks echoed. She opened to Ben, drenched and chilled, his horse limping. Sorry, Buck twisted an ankle. Can't reach the motel. Stable him out back. I'll fetch towels. As she watched Ben care for the animal with steady hands, something unlocked in Hera gateway to need she'd barred shut. Inside, she poured hot coffee, studying his jawline in the firelight. I ought to go, he said, but stayed rooted. In this mess, you drown. The air thickened with truth. Stay, and secrets spilled. Leave, and he risked the storm. Eleanor, his voice rasped. If I stay. She stepped nearer, fingers undoing her blouse's top button. I've been pondering what you said about ignoring the gossip. The buttons yielded one by one. For years, she breathed. For years playing the saintly widow. Do you know what that's like? He shook his head, mesmerized. It means no one's held me like I'm alive, not an obligation. Her blouse parted, revealing pale skin. Ben stood, closing the gap. His hands cradled her face. You're wanted to every church service? I ache for you. Every diner visit, I want to unravel that composure and show you your fire. Show me. The kiss ignite draw, urgent for years of void colliding. Ben's fingers freed her hair, pins clattering as auburn waves cascaded. She tugged his shirt off, breath hitching at his toned form, a jagged scar across his side. Ow! She traced it. Bar fight in Billings' old story. He unfastened her clothes slowly, reverently. Eleanor, are you sure? Since you first walked in. Layers fell away until she stood in her slip, curves outlined. His gasp was music. Lord, you're stunning. His lips trailed her neck, sending shivers. They stumbled to her bedroom, the one she'd shared chastely for 16 years, empty since. Ben hesitated at her slip's tie. Eleanor, I gotta confess. Vulnerability shadowed his eyes. I've never. You're my first. The revelation sweetened the air. She cupped his face. And you're my second-me choice. The tie loosened, barriers gone. He lowered her gently, hands exploring with awe. Gorgeous, he murmured, kissing her chest, drawing gasps she'd forgotten. Eleanor guided him, bodies sinking in tender ferocity. When ecstasy hit, she shattered, remade not just a widow, but a woman reclaimed. After, tangled in sheets, her head on his chest, his fingers stroked her arm. I love you, he whispered, no matter what. And you, Benjamin Carter beyond words. Dawn brought reckoning. Mrs. Vera Landry, head of the Baptist Women's Group, banged on Eleanor's door, fury etched in her lined face. Eleanor Hayes, your conduct shames us all. Neighbors peeked as Eleanor clutched her robe. By noon, her diner echoed empty. Meetings canceled, patrons vanished. Pastor Wilkins' visit stung the worst. Eleanor, your folks raised you proper. This fling with that young drifter? He's using you. He's treated me with real kindness more than I've known. Kindness? Or conquest? He'll bolt soon. Doubt wormed in Ben Young. Vital. She passed her prime? That evening, Ben found her in the dim diner, shelves bare of life. Eleanor, I heard the talk. It's everywhere. He pulled her close. This is on me. Come with meth, lease is ours. We can build fresh. Marry me, he urged, wiping her tears. Before she answered, Deputy Harlan emerged from the shadows, gun hand ready, flanked by goons. Back for more, drifter. Evening, deputy. Tension spiked. Harlan waved a telegram. Check your past trouble in Wyoming. A hitched woman, knife fight left her man scarred. Eleanor's gut twisted the scar. Lie. Ben snarled. She was abused. I helped her escape. When he attacked, it got messy. Trouble follows you, Harlan growled. Eleanor stepped between them. Enough. Deputy, your protection is bullying. She slammed her diner key down. I'm done with Silver Creek. Take the place, turn it into your clubhouse. To Ben, you woke me up, thank you. She fled upstairs, packing amid heartbreak, doors shutting on pleas. 7 months later, Eleanor thrived in her bakery in Bozeman, Montana's bustling hub. She'd forged independence, welcomed by locals without judgment. But nights brought longing. The bell tinkled. She looked up from the dough to hazel eyes. Ben, weathered but determined. Hello, Eleanor. Words failed briefly. You're far from Silver Creek. Not far enough without you. He'd sold the lease, tracked her via a sympathetic soul. I'm still in love, want to prove it daily. Walls crumbled. The gossip. Harlan's out town, tired of his tyranny. Ladies moved on. He knelt, ring extended. Marry me. Let me show love beats everything. Outside, Bozeman hummed her haven. But in his eyes, a fuller life beckoned. Yes, she whispered, slipping on the ring. They embraced, futures entwined. No more running. Together, they'd face storms. What do you think? Was Eleanor right to defy the town? Or should she have played it safe? Share your take in the comments. Love across ages, small town judgment, second chances. Let's hear your stance.